Welcome to iPad Pros, the show all about professionals using the iPad to be productive and get work done. I'm Tim Chatton, host of the show.
What we would have liked to do, and there's of course a limitation there, is we would have liked to be able to use both cameras at the same time. So you would have yourself in a picture-in-picture thing while you film something else. And we couldn't do that because you can't have the video from both cameras at the same time. In terms of if we have the camera and some other video, we should be able to do split screen. Once we have the data and we own the data, then there's no limitation what we can do with it. The problem with iOS is that having access to the resources is the first problem.
Hello there, and a quick note to open today's episode. My apologies if anyone got an unedited version of the iOS 11 launch day episode. I discovered this really unfortunate error 30 minutes or so after it went live and had it fixed within the hour. The file has now been replaced, and if you did happen to get that unedited file, you can delete the file from your podcast client and re-download it to get the good version. Now, on to today's episode. Today we have Oliver from Boinx Software. Oliver is the co-founder and CEO of Boinx. Boinx is a company that really has a passion for making creative tools that are really easy and fun to use. The reason I want to have Oliver on the show today is to talk about their new iOS app, mimoLiveReporter. The app ties into their Mac video production app, so there will be some Mac discussion at the top end of the show, but offers some really compelling streaming features as a standalone iOS app. As you'll hear in the interview, I wouldn't be surprised if the app gets updated to support iOS 11's new ability of screencasting your complete operating system in any app to YouTube and other streaming services. This is a new feature of iOS 11 that just a few apps are taking advantage of, and I expect this one will probably get updated at some point to support that feature as well. As a reminder, I'm always on the lookout for professionals using the iPad in unique ways. If you have a story to share, please get in touch with me. You can email me iPadProsPodcast@gmail.com or send me a message on Twitter @iPadProsPodcast. Without further ado, here's my interview with Oliver.
I'm here today with Oliver Breidenbach of Boinx Software. Welcome, Oliver.
Oh, thank you. Hi.
So we went a couple times back in the Macworld days, and Boinx has been up to a lot since then. And one of those things has been mimoLive, which is a Mac app, and you're now just venturing off into iOS to kind of expand what the Mac app can do. Can you first kind of dive into what Boinx Software, who you guys are, and what mimoLive is?
Okay, so Boinx Software is a software vendor. We make iPhone and apps for the Mac and iPhone and iOS and all the Apple platforms since about the mid-90s or something. We've got quite a couple of creative apps, so our main focus is making you more creative as a user. The philosophy is also that we want to have apps that are suitable for the professional as well as for the casual user or the even kids, for school and education areas. So they should be powerful enough to be, not to have the professional not wanting for anything, but easy enough to use so that kids in this classroom can use it as well. So that's kind of what we are about and what we do at Boinx Software.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, one of the apps that I'm really fond of that has been out for a while now is the iStop Motion for iPad and Mac. That's just phenomenal stop motion app for those that.
Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, and it really unleashes creativity, being able to do something stop motion so simply on iOS.
Yeah.
mimoLive, can you kind of dive into what this product's all about?
Live video or producing video for the internet is kind of like a hot topic right now. And we've introduced mimoLive quite a while ago in 2009, as it was called Boinx TV back then. The idea is to be able to produce a lot of video content really quick. So what you want to do is you want to sit in front of the cameras, hit go, perform your program, maybe news show or a talk show or video podcast or recording a presentation or whatever. You want to do it in one sweep, and add all the graphics and between cameras and all that kind of things.
No post-production needed.
Exactly. No post-production needed. And that allows you to make really a lot of content in a very short time. And also, of course, this model works perfect for live streaming, because then you just stream what you are producing right now to Facebook, YouTube, or whatever you want, and people can watch it while you're doing it. So that's kind of the logic next step. mimoLive stands for multi-in, multi-out live video engine, and that means we want to be able to input anything you want, from video cameras to grabbing the screen somewhere and doing like a screencast, to any conceivable video input, data input. So you could visualize stock charts, for example, with real-time data, and then output it to as many destinations as possible. You can record it to disk, you can stream it live on the web, you can play it out through a secondary monitor, and dozens of more possible use cases. So it's kind of mimoLive.
Okay. And you're able to stream out to, say, YouTube Live as well as Facebook simultaneously?
Of course, it's technically possible to do that, not from within mimoLive itself.
Mm-hmm.
We only create one stream. One of the reasons is that Facebook actually doesn't allow you to use other streaming services at the same time as you use the Facebook API. So kind of a restriction. There's ways around it, of course. You can use the RTMP stream key directly. So one of the restrictions of the Mac platform right now is that we only have a limited number of H.264 compression codecs in hardware. So that means if you want to stream to two destinations, one will be encoded by the hardware and the other will be encoded by a software encoder, and the software encoder is not really very good.
Yeah.
So we decided not to offer that right now, because that would just lead to a lot of dissatisfied customers. What we recommend to do, there's a couple of web-based services that you can stream to that will restream your content to all the platforms you like, or you can set up an Nginx-based server on a Raspberry Pi or Linux machine or on a Mac that would also allow you to do the restreaming. It's a little more effort, and we would like it to be much easier than it is. So you have the convenience of a web service, or you can go do it yourself.
Right.
Some assembly required kind of route.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, bandwidth limitations would also be a concern unless you're in a very
So we hope that with the next version of macOS and iOS, Apple is moving to another codec called HEVC, which is also sometimes known as H.265. And we hope that this improves a lot if you use that codec, because Apple may offer a software codec that is faster, and also the hardware may be able to do more than one hardware encoder at the same time. But we will have to wait what's happening there and see what's coming.
Okay. So that's the Mac app. It's a full-featured multi-in, multi-out, production studio for video.
Yeah, we'd like to call it a broadcast truck without the truck. It really can.
Yeah,
it really can do anything: green screening, graphic, multi-camera switching. It's a very versatile and very powerful tool.
Yeah. Now, recently introduced is mimoLiveReporter, which is an iOS app. And can you kind of go into what the capabilities are and who that app is for?
Yeah, so how did it come about? So the idea was you have mimoLive on your Mac, and you build yourself a studio at the school maybe to do your morning announcements. And then you want to send out someone out in the field, interviewing people on the schoolyard, or doing an interview with the headmaster or whatever, and bring them in live into your production. And that's why we developed something called mimoCall. It's sort of like Skype, but it connects directly into your mimoLive installation in the studio. mimoCall is based on a technology called WebRTC. And for WebRTC, you can use any Chrome browser on any platform. So on the Mac desktop, on the Windows desktop, on the Linux desktop, on Android devices, as long as you use the Chrome browser, you can play with mimoCall and bring in an expert over the internet thousands of miles away. The only problem is that if you want to use an iPhone to do that, WebRTC is not yet supported on the iPhone. And so we set about to develop our own client application for MimoCall because we wanted it to be special. We added things like you can do lower thirds and graphics and add BRoll to your connection there. So we thought it's nice that you can now have a roaming reporter with the iPhone in the field and send your video back to your mimoLive studio. But of course, you could also use the app to stream directly to YouTube or Facebook out in the field. And it would also be nice to have the logos and the lower thirds and the B-roll, which is not something the standard streaming apps of the YouTube and Facebook people offer. So we added the live streaming capabilities to mimoLiveReporter, so you can now live stream directly to YouTube and Facebook. And the third thing we did is Apple has a cool technology called Replay Kit, and that allows you to game stream your iOS apps, or for example, if you have a creative app like a drawing app, you could do a tutorial live stream to YouTube or Facebook from your iPad. You draw something and you explain it to people, and people can watch you doing it. And that's called Replay Kit broadcasting. But Apple doesn't offer a lot of default destinations, so basically none. So they rely on third-party apps to provide those. So we thought if we add a Replay Kit broadcast extension to mimoLiveReporter, you can also use all the streaming destinations you set up inside mimoLiveReporter to also stream your game or do a live tutorial of those creative apps. And with iOS 11 upcoming, this technology evolved into general screencasting. So I hope we can change it so that you can use any app. But right now for iOS 10, the app that you want to stream needs to support Replay Kit on the program side. So there's a couple of games. And for example, the Procreate drawing app and Apple Swift Playgrounds that support Replay Kit broadcasting to some extent. So you can use those apps right now. And with iOS 11, you will be able to use even more apps because then, as far as I understand it, the app doesn't really have to support this feature itself. And so you can basically then use any app and stream that. That's hopefully what's coming up with iOS 11 in this area. So basically, mimoLiveReporter has three parts: MimoCall client for users of mimoLive on the Mac, live streaming to YouTube and Facebook, and the Replay Kit broadcast extension so that people can do game streaming or stream tutorials from their iOS device.
What's the process like for doing a live stream from a Replay Kit enabled app?
So the Replay Kit enabled app will have somewhere a menu item or command or something like that that says basically start live stream. Mm-hmm. And you tap on that, and then iOS brings up the dialog that lets you choose which broadcast extension to use. You tap on mimoLiveReporter, and then a window comes up that lets you choose from the streaming destinations that is like your YouTube account and your YouTube channel, or your Facebook account, or whatever account you've set up, your Twitch account, and then start streaming basically to that account. So you use mimoLiveReporter to set up the streaming destination, and then inside the Replay Kit broadcast enabled app, you just choose start stream, choose mimoLiveReporter, the destination you want to stream to, and you are streaming basically.
Okay. And is there any capacity on your end to do like a lower third over that live stream, or is it just a pure...
This is currently technically impossible because Apple doesn't give our extension enough processing time and also access to the data. We can't do that right now. But if Apple expands the functionality of broadcast extension, then we will certainly add that.
Okay. And so you mentioned YouTube and Facebook. And what's the full list of platforms that?
So basically, we have built-in support for YouTube and Twitch, where we can use the APIs, the YouTube API and the Twitch API, to do all the, figure out your channels, what broadcasts you've set up, and stuff like that. In Facebook, we are not allowed to use the Facebook API from a mobile app. So So what you have to do is you have to use the desktop to set up a live stream in Facebook and then copy the streaming key and stream URL into mimoLiveReporter. It's kind of a backdoor kind of thing. The RTMP route is what most platforms offer you. You can ingest a live stream into most platforms through RTMP. And you just need to have the stream key and the stream URL from that platform, and then you can stream to it. So I think we support a lot of platforms through this mechanism, and directly via API, we do have YouTube and Twitch and Streamshark, and the RTMP option is open for basically any streaming platform.
Okay. Now, you mentioned doing lowered thirds and things like that. What kind of other layers can you add to your live stream?
So right now we have lower thirds. We have a free text thing. You can put on some text somewhere. We've got a clock, so you can do like time and date. We have a news ticker that allows you to do some breaking news thing, scroll along the screen. We do have a station logo, so you can put in like whatever, Channel 4, whatever. Yep. I don't know what broadcast logo you want to put into your stream, and BRoll. For example, there's like a demonstration. You want to send your reporter to an event somewhere. Then he can go around and take tape interviews or something like that, and then be on standby. Call him into your show, and then he can transmit the interviews he taped. Or she taped earlier, and they can send that in, and so that's called BRoll, and the other thing you can do.
Okay, so in some of those, they're constant elements like the station logo, but others you'll tap somewhere on the interface and it'll bring it up for that moment, and then that element is done. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So the metaphor for invoking those elements is the same as it's in mimoLive for the Mac. We do have a layer stack, which means that things are like in Photoshop, and graphic elements are in layers. So you can decide what should be on top and what should be on bottom. You can tap them to activate them and tap them again to deactivate them. And so it's like you can put them live and turn them off again, and they will just be dynamic content in your live stream. So you can do a lower third and you can just tap and the lower third will appear, and you can tap again and it will disappear. And it does have some sort of transition. I think the lower third can do like swipe in and swipe out and dissolve or something like that. I'm not sure about all the features, but
and is audio something you've considered linking to some of those, like when breaking news comes on, a certain like audio kind of bumper?
That is a good feature suggestion. We haven't done that yet, but we'll certainly take it under consideration. Yeah, so we added some features to some audio features, so you can choose if you want to use the front or back microphone, which helps with determining where the sound should come from.
Yeah.
So that's built in, and we also have, of course, a lot of features, ideas that we can put into future versions if enough people subscribe to our in-app purchase pro version, which helps us a lot with financing the development. And we would be happy if users support us in that way.
Yeah, it's very well priced. I think it's $1 a month or $10 a year for the app. Yeah.
So basically, the app is free. So if you do a Mimo call as a mimoLive user and you want to bring in someone via Mimo call, then you can do that for free. The reporter doesn't have to pay anything. They can just download the app and use it for free. If they then use the app to stream to YouTube or any other platform, there will be a badge that says, powered by mimoLiveReporter. And if you want to have that removed from your live stream, then you need to purchase a subscription, and there's two, as you mentioned, $1 a month subscription or a $10 a year subscription, and that will just remove the badge from your content, and everything is going to be fine then.
Yeah. Now, have you considered, so currently the iOS app is kind of for everybody being in the same place, one camera or, your BRoll. Have you considered a higher price subscription option for iOS users that want to produce, say, a video podcast, having a caller call in to them?
We have considered that. I very much would have liked to ship it in the first version, but there are a couple of technical obstacles to having a Mimo call come into your iPhone. And we are working on resolving those, but right now, just a client, one person.
Okay.
App.
Yeah, I can say in the future if that does get solved, it'll be I can. There's a fair amount of podcasters, I would say, that would love this solution, right? Because you can't do it with Google Hangouts because you have to start the broadcast on your desktop for that, and Skype you can't record anything, and it'd be killer. And so that's something. Yeah, I'd be.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so it'd be very exciting. And
you're producing your show on the iPad, right?
I am completely on iOS. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it would be cool to have like mimoLiveReporter to be able to have a split screen with you on the one side and someone calling in on the other side. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyways, back instead of future things perhaps. Lightning microphones. Have you tested this? Has this been built into the app to support kind of high-end microphones plugged into an iPad or iPhone?
So we use iOS API to access the sound, so it should be no problem to use external microphones and Bluetooth microphones and whatever. That shouldn't be a problem. Although, but we don't have unlimited resources, so we couldn't buy everything that's on the market. To test. So if people find something specific that doesn't work, then we will certainly take a look, and you can contact us in our forums on boinx.com/connect/forum. You can talk to us and tell us what microphone you tried and it didn't work, and we'll try to figure it out.
Okay. And then another audio related thing. There's this API or technology called Audio Bus, which would enable basically other apps to send audio into your program, or the audio you're creating within Mimo to go to another app for recording, for instance. Is that something you've looked into enabling for having soundboards into a live stream?
We haven't looked into it officially, but one of the main engineers on mimoLiveReporter is an audiophile, I think is the correct word. And I'm sure he has looked into it. It's just that we need to focus on certain things to get it out in the market. You can always spend more time developing an app and it will never be ready. So what do you think would be like a good use case for that feature? Is like if you had the split screen thing, you would record it at the same time somewhere?
Yeah, so the idea is you could potentially have this split screen and then you'd have the soundboard on one side, and this would enable you to have, as we're talking about having the audio thing of with the bumpers as you do things, you could have different sounds go on, sound effects. Someone makes a joke, you can have like a fake laugh track or something.
Okay. So what we do, what mimoLiveReporter does, in fact, is also record all of this stuff on the local device. So if you turn that on, so you will have a backup copy of the stream that goes out to YouTube, or you can use the recording in other video editing apps and spice it up there.
Okay, yeah, that's a really nice feature. Now, iOS devices are starting to have plenty of storage if people opt into the higher capacity ones, so that'll be nice.
Yeah.
Now, is there a limitation on iOS? I know, like Skype, for instance, you can't have your camera running while split screening. Is that a limitation on your app as well?
What we would have liked to do, and there's of course a limitation there, is we would have liked to be able to use both cameras at the same time. So you would have yourself in a picture-in-picture thing while you film something else, right?
Yeah, or you're interviewing someone and you have both cameras, yeah.
And that we couldn't do that because you can't have the video from both cameras at the same time. In terms of if we have the camera and some other video, we should be able to do split screen. Once we have the data and we own the data, then there's no limitation what we can do with it. The problem with iOS is that having access to the resources is the first problem. So if you solve that, we could get at both video signals at the same time, then we could do whatever we want with it, but we won't get access to both at the same time. If we built in a Mimo call server into mimoLiveReporter, so you can do actual call-ins from another app from another iPhone into your mimoLiveReporter broadcast, then there should be no problem because we own the data and we can do whatever we want with it.
Yeah, and prior, I know you had, or still have, for local Mac productions, like the ability to add iOS cameras locally through another app that's available. That's also something maybe on iPad you could have a different app that's just for local kind of extra cameras.
Okay. Yeah, we have to look into that, yes.
So is there anything we didn't cover on about mimoLive or mimoLiveReporter that like to speak about?
Well, I mean, mimoLive is so deep that we could talk hours and hours and hours. I think we covered the basics. If people want to dive deeper, they can always go to our website and download a mimoLive demo for the Mac. mimoLiveReporter is available for free from the App Store, so just download it and play around. If you find anything where you get stuck with something, and we'd love to hear about it in the forums. And basically, I think that covers everything.
Great, yeah. I've done a couple like test streams, and it seems like a really great app from what I've used so far of it, and just the ability to build out these really nice templates. I think has a lot of potential for content creators on the iPad.
Oh yeah, that's another interesting point. So you could set up different templates for, say, if you have different shows, like you do a tech show and a food show, then you can have different templates for that. Or if you do a different show for YouTube or Facebook, then you can have different templates for that kind of thing. That's also supported in mimoLiveReporter.
Yeah. It's a great starting point, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Oliver, for your time. And once again, it's boinxsoftware.com?
Boinx.com.
Boinx.com. Okay.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to register that early enough to.
Yeah, nice short URL. Yeah, so check out mimoLiveReporter, and also if you're also into content creating, iStopMotion for iPad is really phenomenal as well.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of iPad Pros. You can find more information about Boinx Software at boinx.com. That's BOINX.com. You can find the show notes over at iPadPros.net. Coming up soon on the show are some more episodes all about iOS 11. Now that the OS is out, there are a ton of awesome new and updated apps that deserve some discussion, including the long-awaited shelf apps that really make full use of drag and drop. If you like the show, please review on iTunes and pass it along to a friend. If you have feedback or questions, please send those to iPadProsPodcast@gmail.com. If you have an interesting workflow or use of the iPad, please get in touch, as I'd love to have you on the show to discuss it. You can follow the show on Twitter at iPadProsPodcast, and you can follow me on Twitter at TCHATEN. With that said, thanks for listening to this episode of iPad Pros.